Are my levels good? My levels good? All right. What's going on, Chicago and the world? This is the lovely Dree signing on to intellectualradio.com with the Mass Appeal Show. And I am sitting next to a legend. Oh my God, I'm sitting next to a Chicago legend, the man himself, George Daniels. And so like I'm not even gonna try and tell everybody what he's responsible for in the industry, in music, in Chicago. I'm just gonna let him give you a little bit of his story and let him tell you about his job as the host with the most of the 2015 Global Mixed Music and Film Forum. So tell us some of the history, Uncle George.
Well, I mean, it's a long history. We don't have that much time, but Google me.
No, that's real. He got about like 37 pages.
George Daniels, George's Music Room. I'm like a neighborhood guy that did pretty good with a record store. 1969 is when I started. But the coolest thing about it, this is the Velvet Lounge, right? And right around the corner from here is 2120 Michigan Avenue, which was formerly Chess Records. It's now the Blues Museum.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of started. You know, when you look at that movie Cadillac Records, well, way back then, I was Etta James' driver locally here. I was like 17. And so it really started back then. And then I drove for Billy Stewart. And I was associated with a number of artists. Minnie Riperton, for one, that's who introduced me to that industry back then at Chess when she had a part-time job there. And we were dating. She was going to Hyde Park High School back then. And so from there, I wound up working at my dad's restaurant. We had a couple of restaurants on 47th Street. I wound up leaving there because I couldn't do it my way. So my father said, "Hey, you want to do it your way? You better get your own." And so I wound up working for a black-owned distribution. I mean, literally the first and the last ever. That was United Record Distributors at 1832 here in South Michigan. Ernie and George Leaner. And Ernie's son, Tony, was my best friend. And so this is before I opened the store. And it was so cool to have those type of mentors. His dad was, Ernie Leaner was amazing. And George, now mind you, we talking back in the 60s. George Leaner had his own plane over at MIxx Field, the airport that made Daily tore up.
Right. The Daily tour, yeah, right. And now it's an outdoor music venue.
Yes. And so with that history, and then across the street from there on the corner of Michigan and 18th, that's where Johnson Publishing used to be. There used to be like a mansion over there, that house. That was it, Johnson Publishing, before he built the office building there on Michigan Avenue. So I said all that to say, the greatest thing about that era are the examples, the role models that we had. We had people that, you could just literally touch, because here back then, you had Johnson's Products, you had Soft Sheen, you had all these companies, you had all these individuals, most folks don't even realize.
So that's a lot of what Global Mixx is trying to do, right? Is build up a platform and a base for folks to have access to mentorship and networking in the industry. Right?
Yeah, well, an exchange of information. Right. The one thing about Mary doing Global Mixx is that she has she's lived this before. Mary Datcher is she used to work for me, and so back in the 90s, we did a whole bunch of organizing and stuff. But Mary went to Jack the Rapper, BRE, Urban Network, Impact, the Southeast Music Conference. Here in Chicago, we had the Midwest Radio and Music Conference. And so you had those conventions where exchange of ideas, and our industry has suffered because of a lack of those national trade organizations, because the collaborations that have been missed over the years. I'm not going to knock it, but there's so few artists that are being recognized, and what they're being recognized for is really limited because everybody sounds alike. Where the hell is hip hop?
I agree.
Look, I was fortunate the other day. I went to the Cuban and flew me out. I went to the premiere of Straight Outta Compton. I just got back. Hey.
See, we're at a VIP party. He's real VIP. He gets flown out.
Look, I'm tell you.
How was that?
It was phenomenal, but Universal's commitment. I've never seen a commitment like this to a black film. I mean, there's never been a commitment. You see all of the marketing that they're doing, but at the premiere, 7,000 people premiere. They had it at the old Nokia Theater, which is now Microsoft Theater. 7,000 seats in there.
That's amazing.
It was packed. And then the after party, they had those tents that they use in football season when the team is playing inside. This shit was big as like 2 football fields. Like 25, 30 bars were in there. They had food galore, and then they had all of the lowriders, the cars that were in the movie. They were there. The cars were even stars.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing.
But I've been fortunate to have relationships over the years because just like Ice Cube and the West Side Connection, but I met him. Eazy-E did in-stores at my store, so I knew them when they were teenagers, if you will. They came to my store, so my history in the business goes back as far.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, your store was a platform and a place for youth to convene and find out what was coming out, what was new, and then like if artists did right by you, they were always featured in the store.
Well, the cool thing about it, one of the things I learned, and being the honorary chair for Mary's convention this year, the Global MIxx, I hope to. Well, I'll get a chance to exchange some ideas and thoughts and give examples of how to use a conference. Because if you spend 3 or 4 days, we used to go to conventions, and I even joined the pop trade organizations, white folk stuff. Right? You heard me, right? You heard me. I've just been out of Houston too. That's what they say down there. You heard me. And so those organizations, it was NARM, National Association of Recording Merchandisers. It was Ernie Lena, the United Records Distributors. He was a guy that influenced me, and he took me to my first NARM convention in 1972. And I saw what they did, and this is like before Tower Records became so big or whatever, but you had chains here in Chicago. You had Rose Records, down on Wabash and a few other locations. That's who eventually Tower bought out. But I would go to these trade shows, and I'd literally be the only black guy there. And I met all these other folks that had these different types of stores, maybe not the traditional record store. And so I tell my fellow retailers, black retailers, I said, man, you need to come. Man, I ain't paying all that money. That's for the big guys with the change. Well, see, to me, that's why I guess they call themselves Bob's Record Store. All of these people have record stores, not to knock them, but George always called it George's Music Room. See, so no matter what format it came out on, because when I started, it was 45s and albums. Then the 8-track, right?
Oh, I remember those.
Remember that? But then the cassette, as they say in the hood, the cassette. The cassettes came out before the CDs, okay? But it was always music. And see, that's why I came up with the name Music Room.
And that's why you've been timeless. And in fact, if you're traveling through Chicago, you can hit up George's Music Room in Midway Airport, right?
15 years and running, boy.
I know. And you can get everything in there. You can get headphones. You can get the CDs.
And when you leave that charger at the crib, I can charge your phone. It don't cost you, though.
Right? No free charges. All right. Well, if you want to hear more of George's story, you got to come to the 2015 Global MIxx Music and Film Forum tomorrow and Sunday to catch him and hear even more of the history that he has. I'm like, I can sit here next to George for 3 days and we would still only cover a little bit of the Chicago history and his history in the industry and the stories. And the stories. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, come on out.
So yeah.
And just, pull me to the side. We'll talk for a few minutes now. I ain't gonna you take more than 2 minutes, I'm gonna charge you. You heard me?
Indeed. Well, thank you for your time in chatting with me. I love you so much. And thank you guys for listening to intellectualradio.com on the iHeartRadio network. And this is the lovely Dree signing off.
And I'm the slave that produces this.